during Chapter 8, you've used two different ideas in order to factor things, and then the other idea was that we factored in order to solve. So you're going to put those two skills together today. This is the quick lesson for 8-6 Day 2. You may need to stop the video, pause it, fill things in, try problems, and then come back to it. Solving an equation means, and you know this, finding values, and it's all values, finding all values of a variable of x that make the equation true. That means when I put that in, both sides are equal to the same number. The variable could be x or any other thing. Zero product property helps us when equations are already factored and equal to 0. So we want things that are multiplied, but not only that, they have to equal 0 on one side. Because remember, that's the game we can play. Two things multiplied together to equal 0 means that we can solve and find values that will work. So putting them together, we can first factor an equation and solve it. So we're going to try that out. So the first example you have, we have to have the equation equal to 0 in order to satisfy that first part of zero product property. Ours already is. If it wasn't, we would subtract things off of one side until we got 0. Then we want to factor. This is not monomial factoring. I can check for a common monomial because I should, but my GCF here is 1, so I move on. I want a binomial factor. This isn't one of those grouping situations. This is one of those situations where we may want to look at our factor diamond. We need to come up with numbers that multiply together to be -15, but add or subtract to be 2. And you did a lot of this yesterday, so we're going to use 5 and -3 as our two values. So in our factors then, we're going to have an x minus 3 factor and an x plus 5 factor to transform this added and subtracted expression into its multiplied or factored form. Then we use zero product property. Each part of the product, each multiplier, gets set equal to 0. Use this as a sample or example when you do homework tonight. So final solutions here, we have that x plus 3 will make this initial equation right here equal to 0. And please be careful so that your final steps of algebra are neat and orderly and we don't make mistakes. Or x is -5 will also solve the equation. If we were to plug them back in and check, they will both work. So in other words, I'm going to take that equation, that x squared plus 2x minus 15 equal to 0. If I check for x is 3, that's saying 3 squared plus 2 times 3 minus 15 should be 0. And it does, it works. So my first solution of 3, when I plug that in, it works. Then I would also check it with -5. So you're going to do that, pause your video, try that out, and make sure that you can show that that in fact makes both sides worth 0. So you can put your check next to it and say that it works. Show the in-between steps, please. So a couple more examples so you get some good practice, and then you'll have some time also to do homework today. First step, and these are good steps to put on note card, consider doing that. Get your equation equal to 0. I see an x on this side. That will be the easiest thing to move over in order to keep that x squared or lead term positive. Now that it's equal to 0, one part of zero product property is happy. The other part says we have to get this factored. My GCF is 1, so I did check GCF factoring, but there isn't any. So I want to go to binomial factoring. And if you need to, go to your factor diamond, a yesterday or previous skill. We want numbers that multiply together to be -20, but add or subtract to -1. So we're looking at -5, +4. So my two factors, again, slow the video down if you need to go and factor and discover where those came from. Set each factor equal to 0. and then we get our final solutions. In the homework, if it says to show a check step, then show that plugging it in works. If it doesn't, then you don't need to, you just need to solve and report your solutions. We're gonna do two more where I start it. Why don't you stop the video and then come back to it and see if you've got it. So why don't you try this one on your own, pause the video right here. Come back as soon as you've got it ready to go. So if you're back to check, make sure that you're showing all your work in here that gets you to your final answers. If not, pause the video and rework this one. On the final one, do the same. Pause the video here, try it yourself, use the steps on the side, and come back after you've tried it and see if your steps match. So if you're back to check through, see that yours works, ask for help from the teachers who are here or leave it as a question, and then follow what the teacher or the sub says to do next. See you soon.